And that's really what this comes down to. I don't believe in the bin Laden thing. In fact, I know it's a fraud and a hoax, and I told you it would happen years before. And it's simple. Known certified liars have to be removed. This entire government at the top is as rotten as a dead dog in the ditch. A dead dog's been dead for a week and a half. I mean, this thing is crawling with maggots. And it stinks, and it looks like every other tyranny we've ever seen, with an icing of high tech, which makes it even more dangerous. And there's a bunch of people out there saying, oh, I don't want to hear that Alex Jones. Well, listen, folks, if you think the mainline Republicans and the mainline Democrats are going to give you anything else than what you've always seen, and if you don't think it's, and don't worry, it's not going to be business as usual. It's going to get a whole lot worse, a whole lot quicker. Going back to Steve in Florida, so you're talking to this lady, and we had ended with, I'm not going to listen to Alex Jones. Go ahead.
Yeah, and of course, I got into about, the election and Ron Paul, and see, this is a classic case of someone who's been subjected to the New World Order psychological programming and manipulation, doesn't even realize that through their media outposts. I talked about Ron Paul. Oh, he's a nutcase. You're going to be wasting your vote. He can't get elected. All the typical stuff that's been put out there.
No, they repeat what they've been programmed with, and it's like a baby with a blanket. They think they're smart because they repeat talking points. And, of course, now it's admitted he won those first states, but they just said he didn't to create the idea he couldn't win. I mean, they let the government media force feed them.
And so when I brought up about 9/11, I said, okay, so I brought up the TSA and how they're rolling them out and putting them at checkpoints and then, all these other places. And I said to her, okay, if you want to live in that fantasy world and believe what you're being told, that's a bunch of lies. When it comes to your door, don't say you weren't warned. Oh, that's not going to come to my door. I said, boy, you're in for a rude awakening.
It's already coming with the shots and the fluoride and the GMO. That's how they like to kill these people, is real quiet, so they don't know who did it. But look, here's a headline out of USA Today. Obama in Afghanistan, Al-Qaeda defeated hand. See, it's the new talking point. The war on terror is over, but the TSA is on the streets and going to grope you. You're now the terrorist. I told you, the branding's here. So ask them. Al-Qaeda's put in Libya and all these other countries. The government now says they're good guys. What's all this homeland security for?
Well, you see, but somebody like her whole response, that's just Obama and the liberals. It's got nothing to do with the previous administration.
Exactly, and and there's been total continuity of agenda. Total continuity of agenda. Bush came out for the power plant shutdowns under carbon taxes. Bush was for the assault weapons ban. Of course he was. Why is Mitt Romney identical to Obama in his actions as governor? Because the same people that bought and paid for Obama have bought and paid for Mitt Romney. It's just that he'll be a lighter form of it and will actually get more through on us. Heaven help us. All right, Steve Pachinik, who 9 years ago on my radio show exposed the death of bin Laden and they would be rolled out at a later date. He's going to be joining us to take your phone calls for military callers. But let's continue with calls right now quickly. Roy in Montana, then we're going to Tom. Roy, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a first-time caller, and, I found you on the Internet, and what I wanted to call and tell you is my son is a force recon sniper, and he just got out of his deployment in Afghanistan, and now he said they're having him fill out all the deployment paperwork again. And I asked him, I said, why are they doing that? Are you going back? He said, no, they're going to deploy us into Syria on the Turkey border. Well, the media says that, if Turkey won't allow us to go on the border or whatever, but he said his company is the first.
No, that's already going on. They're on the Jordanian side, too. It's admitted that U.S. troops are surrounding and funding the peaceful Al-Qaeda. And again, I'm not saying Assad's good, but I got to have TSA stick their hands down my pants because of Al-Qaeda, but Al-Qaeda works with NATO? I mean, come on.
Yeah. And another thing I was wondering, you probably already know about this, but the Freedom Group that's been buying up these gun manufacturers like Bushmaster, Marlin, Remington, DPS, they're owned by Service I can't pronounce it, Capital Management, who is run by George Soros. They bought up like 6 gun manufacturers so far.
Yeah, that was even in the New York Times a few months ago. Very, very scary. And that's why you see so much anti-gun stuff from the big manufacturers not defending themselves. That's why it's important to buy from the smaller and mediums that are being harassed by the globalists to make sure that because you got to vote with your dollars. And the system's coming after the Second Amendment. What did Obama promise Sarah Brady last year? It's on record in the Washington Times. He said, don't worry, I'm going to get their guns under the radar. I mean, these are terrorists. I'm going to say that again. Criminal terrorist. I'll tell you, he has courage. You got to agree with him. I've said it before he said it, and I know he's a listener. We've had him on. But Ted Nugent, when he says these are criminals, these are anti-American criminals. They have been caught doing this. Anything else, sir?
Yeah, one quick thing. I have a new name for you for the media, the mainstream disinfo propaganda machine. My 14-year-old son kind of had a funny story this morning. He came up with a little, there was a woman standing at the door during Halloween, and there was a pirate, a ghost, and a little kid standing in a suit. And she said, oh, I can see you're a pirate, and I can see you're a ghost, but what are you? The little kid in the suit looks up and says, I'm the government. I'm the biggest monster of all.
Well said. It is the greatest monster. God bless you, sir. Say hi to your son for me. Good joke. Tom in Georgia, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, I'm calling from FEMA Region 4. 2 quick points that I'd like you to look into, piggybacking on one of the stories you did a couple weeks ago. I have a cousin who's married to a soldier stationed out at Stewart, Brigade Homeland, who told her that the guys that blew up that fella's house in Roswell, they were wearing Fulton County Marshal's uniforms, which is why your Roswell police, all those guys were off duty that day, but that they were actually soldiers from Stewart that did it. You look into that. Number 2, the former Viper squads that have been hanging out on Interstate 40 as you go into Memphis in the little cutoff there where it goes down from 70 to 55 have moved eastward, and now on all of their vehicles it says District 23 Police. So I stopped and asked a guy at the rest area, hey, where's the 23rd District in Tennessee? And he said, man, I don't know what that is. There's no such thing. Those are TSA guys on the interstates in Tennessee on Interstate 40.
No, stay there. Exactly. It's like in Romancing the Stone where Colonel Zulu or whatever, it puts new patches on every 5 minutes. I got Pachenik coming up, but I want to talk about troops because, stay there, this is big.
When you're out on the road.
All right, we're going to Steve Pachenik, Dr. Pachenik here in just a moment with breaking analysis, how it ties into Obama's visit to Afghanistan and a lot more. We're going to be taking military phone calls. I'm going to give that number out, but let me just stop right there. We just got a caller, Tom in Georgia, and I want him to recap what he said. A few weeks ago, a Mr. Words was killed in a town outside of Atlanta, a pretty big town, Roswell. We sent our film crew there. The house was basically blown up and burnt out. They wanted the land for an environmental biosphere. They'd already taken a bunch of other land. He'd been legally having a few dozen chickens for a long time on his acreage. They kept citing him. He kept winning. Then somebody poisoned his chickens. Then the house blew up. Our guys get there because there's been some discussion of foul play, and they won't say whether it was the police or the sheriff's department, but witnesses say it was younger men in sheriff's department outfits. They call them marshals there in that county. But the sheriff says on record, and I have the local papers, that he had no deputies involved. Now, this caller says he has a military source, and I want him to repeat this because it rings true with my information. We had the police basically threaten to arrest our crew. They said they couldn't tape the courthouse, the city building, the city hall, couldn't go in it. This is on video. Can't tape it, threatening them like it's North Korea or something. Darren McBreen and Marcos Morales acting very suspicious, saying we were all off duty that day. The entire police department says they're off duty. This is a big town. I mean, their city hall looks like a capital in many states. So all of this is going on. big marble steps, whole 9 yards. And then everybody says it's the sheriff's department, but they say no, they weren't there. Now, the caller said he talked to Brigade Homeland, and that's where it's based. They're at that fort. He's going to repeat it. That are going to operate domestically. You see a mass shooting, Marines are out-armed. Marines at DWI checkpoints. Army. In the Army Times saying, yeah, we're going to pull triggers on Americans. That's a quote. We're going to expand out from 4,000. This is in 2008. In the next 5 years, here we are. You can pull up these quotes, and we're going to Dr. Pachenik, but this is breaking. We're going to expand out to 379,000 troops in America to deal with civil unrest. Now Obama has NDAA. Now he tells Congress he'll launch wars without approval. We're not in Kansas anymore. They're getting this country ready. I don't think they're going to get away with it because the military's waking up. The police, not so much, but the military is. Now, that said, he calls in and says, yeah, the person I know at the base says, look into this, Alex. It was really troops from there. Folks, I've got in Road to Tyranny, Army and Marines, one Marine Corps captain. Later became a software engineer and, lives in a mansion. Point is, he ran to an Army checkpoint and got mad and spoke to me in 2000. Showed me photos, all of it. He was a Marine. In 88, in Norfolk, Virginia, they would raid gun dealers' homes with Marines in police outfits. This is a long-term program now confirmed. Totally illegal. And my gut told me send reporters there. And from this information, we need to check into it. We need FOIAs, all of it. I'm putting attention on this. It could, folks, there's a very good chance. That, again, they're trying to test and see, can they get, when people are dug in their houses, have the military kill them. Just like they used Delta Force at Waco and to blow up the church records vault in there with a shape charge. General Parton, former head of Air Force Weapons Development, broke that down. I'm going to go Dr. Pachenik. I apologize for him having to hold, but this is breaking news. So we'll hold a little bit in the next hour to catch up on time to take military calls as well. But, sir, repeat everything you just said on air, because some stations don't carry that first 5 minutes. Who this person is, the fort, where Brigade Homeland is based, everything you said like tumblers just clicked as that I believe you. But we've got to ferret this now. This is chilling. The police act like they are scared to death there in that town. So does the sheriff. Go ahead.
Absolutely, Alex. I have a relative who's married to a soldier stationed at Stewart in the Brigade Homeland. Now, this is why I was saying I wanted you to check into it. There's a lot of soldiers there that want to have an outlet to talk about this. They're training, and another story that you were telling about the DNR up in Michigan coincides with what's going on. They're taking these guys from Fort Stewart all over the country because you think about it. People in DNR in Michigan, they're the neighbors of these guys, these pig farms they're raiding. What they're training the guys at
No. I know what they're exactly. It is the governor's council and the rural council that is the Pentagon. It's military occupation with local cadres of goons. This is hellish. This is Red Dawn in slow motion. It's happening. I can't believe it.
But what they're training the guys at Stewart to do in their day-to-day training is wear police uniforms of these different parts of the country, like Fulton County Marshals. They're training in these local uniforms, and the soldiers are like, why are we doing this?